Hello, it's Judy from Coffee, Cookies, and Books. And what we've got for you today is book haul number 2. We're going to do mystery, thriller, horror with a little bit of cozy mixed in. Hopefully you're interested and you'll stick around to see what I've got. All right, so let's get started. Now, this is definitely going to be the biggest of the 3 book hauls that I'm doing. I think the first one, we had 14 books, and in the romance one, I think I have maybe 10 or 12, so really not that many. This one is much bigger, and that's because it covers a bit more, like there's thriller, there's horror, there's mystery, there's cozy mysteries, there's a little bit of everything. And I think, it's probably the category where I buy the most books, I would say, especially because I do get quite a few of that from Book of the Month and Aardvark, and also from Book Outlet, especially when they have their sales. So, and that's kind of like, I look at it as my opportunity to get more of these types of books as opposed to buying them at full price. Okay, so we're just going to get started and get this ball rolling. We have a first one is The Scent of Murder by Kylie Logan. This is the first book in a new series. So this was a series that I think I saw Amy Marie mention it on her channel, and it is on the prowl and on the trail of a killer. So this obviously involves an investigator and her dog. So meet Jazz Ramsey. She trains canines, solves crimes, and sometimes does both at once. The way Jazz figures it, life is pretty good. She owns her own home in one of Cleveland's most diverse, artsy, and interesting neighborhoods. She likes her job as an administrative assistant at an all-girls school, and she works as a volunteer doing what she's passionate about, handling cadaver dogs. So I think that this sounds really great. Now, like I said, it is a series. It's the beginning of a new series, so I'm not exactly sure how many books are out in the series already, but I did want to try book 1 because I thought it sounded really great. It's one of those little pocket-sized ones, which I don't love reading, but this one's actually pretty floppy, so it should be okay for reading that one. Okay, so the next one is actually the second book in the Mountain Lodge Mystery Series, A Trip with Trouble by Diane Kelley. Now, I do have the first book. Haven't read it yet, but it is a cozy mystery series. And this book, again, it's a little pocket book, but it's not quite as small as this one, just a little bit wider for reading pleasure. And I thought this one sounded interesting. So obviously, just like most cozy mysteries, these are just, they just take place in the same world. Now, in some cases, you do need to read the first books in the series to kind of know what's going on with some of the characters. Sometimes there's a lot of character development as you go through these series. So this one is in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Life in the fast lane could end in a crash. When the ladies of the Dangerous Curves Motorcycle Club take over the Mountain Lodge for their annual autumn ride along with the Blue Ridge Parkway, Misty Murphy couldn't be more thrilled. Every room is full, and the adventurous women even invite Misty and her assistant Bryn to join them on a ride to admire the colorful fall foliage. Hotel handyman Rocky Crowder is happy to keep an eye on the lodge for the day, and the ladies set out for a fun ride on a scenic road. But what starts as a perfect ride turns worrisome when the tail gunner, the last rider in the group, fails to show up at the Craggy Gardens overlook. Cell phone service is spotty in the remote mountainous area, and the group is unable to connect with their friend. Might the missing woman have simply run out of gas, or is something far more sinister afoot? I loved the sound of it. I love the idea that it's a bunch of female bikers. It's like so awesome. And yeah, and there's always a cat on the front of the covers, which I think the covers are beautiful, like so beautifully done. Yeah. Okay, so those are 2 cozies. Now, I do have more cozies, but I've kind of mixed them up a little bit here, so be a little bit interspersed within all of the books. So the next one is the second book in the William Poe detective series from M.W. Craven. This is Black Summer. I just read Puppet Show a couple months ago. Absolutely loved it. Thought it was fantastic. So decided to pick up the second book in the series. Now, this, of course, is just an interconnected detective series, so each book is a different case. However, I think in this particular case, you need to read at least the first book in it so that you understand the two main characters, which is Tilly and Detective Poe. So they're both rather unique characters, but I'll read a little bit of this one. It says, Jerry Keaton, chef to the stars, charming, charismatic, psychopath. He's currently serving a life sentence for the murder of his daughter, Elizabeth. Her body was never found, and Keaton was convicted largely on the testimony of Detective Washington Poe. So when a young woman staggers into a remote police station with irrefutable evidence that she is Elizabeth Keaton, Poe finds himself on the wrong end of an investigation, one that could cost him much more than his career. Helped by the only person he trusts, the brilliant but socially awkward Tilly Bradshaw. And I think you kind of get the idea in the first book that Tilly is on the spectrum, but they don't actually, I like that he deals with this very delicately, doesn't actually say that, and Poe and how he deals with Tilly is fantastic. Anyways, I'm just going to leave it at that. I think it sounds fantastic. What is it? Black Summer is this one, and I can't remember how many there are in the series, but I think there's 8 or 9 books. It's a good lengthy series, so looking forward to reading that whole series. Next one is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell mystery series called A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. Now, I just read Killers of a Certain Age, which was written by Deanna Raybourn. I just read that actually this month. Loved it so much. And when this was available on Book Outlet, I thought, well, might as well pick it up because I have heard good things about this particular series, even though it is a historical, but it's a historical mystery series, detective series, and it's about a female. So I loved that whole sort of feel to it. This one is, of course, first one says, after burying her spinster aunt, the orphaned Veronica Speedwell intends to resume her world travels in pursuit of scientific inquiry and the occasional romantic dalliance. As familiar with hunting butterflies as she is fending off admirers, Veronica wields her butterfly net and a sharpened hat pin with equal aplomb. Her fate has other plans, as Veronica discovers when she thwarts her own abduction with the help of an enigmatic German baron with ties to her mysterious past. The baron offers her sanctuary in the care of his friend Stoker, a reclusive natural historian, as intriguing as he is bad-tempered. But before the baron can reveal his secrets, he is found murdered. So, love the sound of that. I think this sounds fantastic. Can't wait to read it, and I did really enjoy her writing in the other book, so hopefully I will like that one. Okay, next one is A Charming Touch of Tarot by Melissa Holtz. So this is a bit of a cozy. There is the first book in the series, which I do not have. I picked this one up on Book Outlet and realized it was the second one in the series. I'm keeping an eye on Book Outlet because it was available and then it wasn't, because they're having their $7.99 Black Friday sale right now, but it could come available again because books kind of go in and out at this time. So I am keeping an eye because I would like to get the first book. It says, the women of the Gin and Tarot Club discovered that their new magical skills may not be enough to save them from a stalker hell-bent on turning their lives upside down. And this follow-up to An Enchanting Case of Spirits. So there's 4 women, and they've become friends, and they all have their problems that's going around. So this sort of obviously deals with friendship, and they're a club, and they end up investigating certain things. So it's perfect weekend read for fans of Emily Henry and Sarah Adler. So I just loved it. Loved the sound of it. I thought the cover was cute too. Always like good covers. Okay, so the next three are all from the same author. And again, I did pick them up from the book outlet. And this one has one of those really awful stickers. I hate trying to get, these stickers are impossible to get off. Unlike the, sometimes we get the other rounds of Target stickers. The Target stickers are super easy to get off. These ones, horrible. Anyway, I have 3 books from the same author. So this one is Blackberry Pie Murder. This one is the Red Velvet Cupcake Murder. The Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder. And this one is like the cutest frickin' cover. Okay? Like, come on. I mean, look at the inside. I got this off Book Outlet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just the cutest thing. And so this is a 25th anniversary edition of this particular book. And I was like, when I got it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't remember what I paid for it. Like maybe $10? I don't know, something like that. So it has recipes. It says Words of Wisdom from Hannah Swensen. Hannah Swensen, I think, is the main person, and she's also, these are also Hannah Swensen murder mysteries as well. Now, I don't know what order any of these go in, but I thought, well, you know, it doesn't sound to me like you really need to know, but what I may do is I may go and I may look up, because like I said, a lot of cases, all you need to do is read the first book, get familiar with the characters, and then you can read any of them in any order. So I'm going to check with them. But this particular one I like because it's got like recipes. If the right man comes along, that's great. And if he doesn't, that's fine too. I'm perfectly content to live by myself. Recipe. Baking cookies is a lot more fun than giving a lecture on amoebic pentameter or being stuck in a deadly dull faculty meeting. A sugar cookie without butter is like a car without gas. It looks good, but it doesn't work. Yeah, so this is just, yeah. Sorry, I love my cozies, but, and you know, to get 3 of them, and they're all from the same author. I do think I have another one from Diane Fluke. I think it's over here somewhere, but I do think I have another one by the same author, different books, but I think it's part of the same series. So I will have to check into that and make sure that I log all those together, right? Okay. So I know I'm kind of silly when it comes to series, but especially Cozy Mystery series, they're just so much fun. Next one is A Tour to Die For by Michelle Chouinard, and this is the second book in. The first one was A Serial Killer's Guide to San Francisco. So she is a tour guide, and she gives tours of locations where killings have occurred. Now, not just serial killers, but also like mass killings, things like that, that go back in history to like Gold Coast time. So she really kind of covers the spectrum when it comes to that sort of thing, but she also kind of gets sort of thrown into the deep end on investigations. Now, the first book dealt with her dealing with the aftermath of her grandfather had been a convicted serial killer, and she had never believed that he had actually done it. And so that book kind of centers around that. So I loved that book. I thought it was fantastic. But I was a little concerned about how this one would come off because there is no personal investment. Like in the last book, there was her and her daughter. They were suspects in a murder, and it came down to her ex-husband's family and all that. So it's a very personal story. This one was not, okay? And I read it as an arc. I have not read the printed book. I read it as an uncompleted arc. So I knew I wanted to get this anyway because I have the first one. And I did like it enough. I didn't like it as much. Now, I don't know if it also, I find uncompleted arcs are never as good as the final book. I always want to read it in the final form. So at some point, this is going to go on my TBR, and I am going to read this one again. I'm assuming she's going to come out with another one. So I'll probably want to read this one just before the next one comes out. So that is that one. Then we have The Bridesmaid by Kate Quinn. Now, this is another one that I read as an arc, and I loved it. Okay, never read a Kate Quinn before. And so I thought, but again, I wanted to read it in its finished form. So I'll read you what it says on the back. The Kensingtons invite you to the society wedding of the decade. There's just one hitch. You might not make it out alive. When a celebrity bridesmaid is murdered weeks before an exclusive society wedding, forensic attorney Holly Stone is drafted as an unlikely undercover replacement, working to unpick the secrets of the notoriously private Kensington family. Glamour-averse Holly discovers a new worst enemy in Bridezilla, Adriana, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And beneath the veneer of sophistication, she realizes the Kensingtons have secrets worth killing for. So I actually liked The Bride. So yes, she's a bridezilla, okay? And yes, at times she makes Holly's life difficult. And then at other times, you really feel sorry for her. So that's what I liked about the story, you know? And there is a little something about the bridesmaid that is dead right at the beginning that has to do with Holly. I'm not going to give it away because, I mean, you could go back and hear my review because it was right at the beginning of the book. But I'm just going to leave it at that. It was a really great book, and I loved it so much. And I actually almost got the UK version, but I actually liked this cover version better. Yeah. So that's our cover version. Okay, so next book is 640 to Montreal by Eva Jurczyk. And I bought this one because it is a story about a woman who gets on a train from Montreal to Toronto. Of course, I live in the, you know, sort of GTA. I'm off the beaten path, but in Hamilton. But I grew up in Toronto. So, you know, kind of get all that. Been to Montreal multiple times. So I loved the idea of this book, but it was the story that really compelled me to buy it. It says, no Wi-Fi, no distractions, no way out. Agatha's husband has bought her a business class ticket on the scenic 6-hour train from Toronto to Montreal as a gift, a one-day writing retreat so she can get some serious work done on her new book, a highly anticipated follow-up to Agatha's runaway bestseller debut novel. The business class car is the perfect place to be productive with only a handful of other passengers, plenty of snacks and drinks, and beautiful views flying by outside the window. But Agatha has other plans for her day out, plans that are unexpectedly derailed when the train breaks down in the middle of the frigid Canadian woods and one of Agatha's passengers dies quietly in his seat. So it has a little bit of like, Death on the Orient Express, like kind of like that idea, or Murder on the Orient Express. That's it. Sort of that feeling, but it's Canada and it's an area I'm familiar with. So I just, loved the sound of it. Wanted to pick it up. I've never read anything by Eva Jurczyk, but it sounded like a good opportunity to do so. All right, so next, another 2 books by the same author in the same series. And this is Glory in Death and Immortal in Death. I'm not sure what order they are in, but they are the next 2 in the series that starts off with, Naked in Death. I have that one up over here. So I loved the sound of it. I have not read the first one, but I really thought it sounded fantastic. And I was able to get the newer covers with this one, and they're like the floppier books, whereas the first one I ended up with kind of like the slightly smaller, and it's the old cover, which I don't mind, but I do prefer these ones. And this is about Police Lieutenant Eve Dallas. So the whole series kind of revolves around her, and each book is a different case. Now, again, it's another one of those ones where I think you kind of have to read the first book in the series, which is Naked in Death. Read that one, then you get a feel for your environment, your characters, at least the characters that follow you from book to book, because I'm sure there's going to be lots of them, and then follow on to the next two. So that would be these two here. Okay, next one I picked up from Book Outlet again is Knock Knock, Can You Ever Really Know the People Next Door by Michelle Teahan. I love the sound of this. Now, I can't remember who referred this one. There's a couple of, well, there's 2 or 3 British gals that I watch that do mostly thriller, horror, mystery, that kind of thing. So it could have been any of the 3 of them that mentioned this one, but one of them did, for sure, mention this one. So it says, Cowerworth is a picture-perfect neighborhood. Its manicured lawns and low crime rates make it the ideal place to raise a family. But in a quiet suburb, someone is always watching, and all eyes are on the couple who have just moved in. Marcus and Gina are everything you could want in neighbors, polite and friendly. They seem to fit in perfect, except Marcus has a secret, and you're his next victim. I know, it's like completely creepy, right? Yeah, like super creepy. Okay. All right, next one is Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. Now, this again is another one from Book Outlet. I can always tell. Well, they don't mark up. Not every book is marked, but you can usually tell it's little crunched in the covers and that sort of thing. I have read one Rachel Harrison, which was Such Sharp Teeth. Absolutely love that book. I also have Play Nice. I picked up that one from Book of the Month. I think it was Book of the Month. Yeah, I think so. And so I really wanted to try this one because I have seen this one mentioned by multiple people that I follow, that this was one of their favorite Rachel Harrison books. So I thought I would give it a try. A cynical 20-something must confront her unconventional family's dark secrets in this fiery, irreverent horror novel from the author of Such Sharp Teeth and Cackle. Now, I've never read Cackle, but Such Sharp Teeth was so good. Nobody has a normal family, but Vesper Wrights is truly something else. Vesper left home at 18, never looked back, mostly because she was told that leaving the staunchly religious community she grew up in meant she couldn't return. But then an envelope arrives on her doorstep. Inside is an invitation to the wedding of her beloved cousin, Rosie. It's to be hosted at the family farm. Have they made an exception to the rule? It wouldn't be the first time Vesper's been given special treatment. Is the invite a sweet gesture, an olive branch, a trap? Doesn't matter. Something inside her sister insists she go to the wedding, even if it means returning to the toxic environment she escaped, even if it means reuniting with her mother, Constance, a former horror film star and forever ice queen. Love the sound of it. I know that all of Rachel Harrison's books do kind of center around family. There's always like sisters, moms, things like that. There's always like very intense relationships, at least from everything that I've heard in the reviews I've seen of different books that she writes, but also in even the one that I read. That's exactly what was in it. That was what really drew me into the book. So I'm hoping it's going to be the same thing with this one. Yes, very much looking forward to that one. Okay, and then the next one we have is Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. Now, I have heard quite a bit about this author. I know there's a couple of different books that she's written that people love. I've never heard much about this particular book, but, you know, Book Outlet had it for sale, and I thought, well, what the heck? Might as well pick it up. It's only $7.99 on their Black Friday specials. So, yeah. So let's see what this one is about, shall we? It says, when Paris Peralta is arrested in her own bathroom, covered in blood, holding a straight razor, her celebrity husband dead in the bathtub behind her, she knows she'll be charged with murder. But as bad as this looks, that's not what worries her the most. With the unwanted media attention now surrounding her, it's only a matter of time before someone from her long-hidden past recognizes her and destroys the new life she's worked so hard to build, along with any chance of a future. 25 years earlier, Ruby Reyes, known as the Ice Queen, was convicted of a similar murder in a trial that was a media sensation and riveted the nation. Reyes knows who Paris really is, and when Reyes is unexpectedly granted an early release from prison, she threatens to expose all of Paris's secrets. Left with no other choice, Paris must finally, once and for all, confront the dark past she thought she had escaped. Yeah, I thought it sounded really, really good. But, you know, my first book by this particular author, so definitely willing to give this one a try. Okay, next one is also an author I have not read from yet. She does come up quite a bit, is Stacy Willingham, and this is Only If You're Lucky. So again, this is another one I picked up from the Book Outlet. It was on sale for $7.99, and I particularly love it when I can get the hardbacks for $7.99. I mean, you know, it's always nice to get, sure, a paperback, sure, always great to get a paperback, but oh my gosh, like they did have an offer for the paperback. Like that was another option that you could get, and it was like a different book that they have slotted in, and I was like, now why would I do that? Never mind the fact, like I loved this cover. I love the cover. Okay, so what does this say? A sharp and twisty exploration of female friendship. Lucy Sharp is larger than life, magnetic and addictive, bold and dangerous, especially for Margot. I mean, I guess it depends on how you pronounce it, who meets Lucy at the end of their freshman year at a liberal arts college in South Carolina. Margot is the shy one, the careful one, always a sidekick, never the center of attention. But when Lucy singles her out at the end of the year, a year Margot spent studying and playing it safe, and asks her to room together, something in Margot can't say no. Something daring or starved or maybe even envious. So, you know, the whole roommate, like which roommate is nuts out of the two of them? We shall see. That's that one. So the last two batches of books that we have to talk about are from Book of the Month and Aardvark. So we're going to do Book of the Month first. I've got 3 books that I've gotten from them now. I think I got them over a couple of different months, but I can't remember exactly because, you know, I'm old and my mind is just not all that great. First one is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. So I do think this one I got in the last box because they had a whole bunch of their thriller books that they were offering again, and I picked up a few older ones, and I think this one was one of their older ones, and I did want to read this one because I have heard a lot of good things about this one from a lot of different people. So I thought, well, I'll grab this one. It says, when Chloe Davis was 12, 6 teenage girls went missing in the small Louisiana town. By the end of the summer, her own father had confessed to the crimes and was put away for life, leaving Chloe and the rest of her family to grapple with the truth and try to move forward while dealing with the aftermath. Now, 20 years later, Chloe is a psychologist in Baton Rouge and getting ready for her wedding. While she finally has a fragile grasp on the happiness she's worked hard to achieve, she sometimes feels out of control of her own life as a troubled teens who are her patients. So when a local teen girl goes missing and then another, that terrifying summer comes crashing back. I'll leave it at that. There is more. I find sometimes the synopsis give a little bit too much away. So it's like, read a little less. Perfect, right? Yes. So I did like the sound. Now another older one that I did pick up is Lock Every Door from Riley Sager. I have read Home Before Dark. Loved that book. But that's the only Riley Sager that I have read. And I thought, well, I'll pick up one of these and just, you know, especially if it's one of their older ones. This one was from July 2019. What was this one? Was originally December 2021. So we're talking books that have been out for quite some time. And I always like to delve into the backlist and see what they've got there. So this one says, no visitors, no nights spent away from the apartment, no disturbing the other residents, all of whom are rich or famous or both. These are the only rules for Jules Larson's new job as an apartment sitter at the Bartholomew, one of Manhattan's most glamorous and secretive buildings. Recently heartbroken and just plain broke, Jules is captivated by the splendor of her surroundings and accepts the terms, ready to leave her past life behind. So I'm not going to read anymore. I loved the sound of this. It's like, you know, it's one of those heavily contained stories where you're stuck in this building, in this apartment. Yeah, I just love the sound of it. Perfect, right? Okay, so then the next one is actually one of the newer offerings. It is The Haunting of Paynes Hollow by Kelley Armstrong, and this was from October 2025, so I was really looking forward to reading this one. Super short book. Not very long at all, I don't think. No, not even 300 pages. So what does this one say? Okay, this is a nail-biting supernatural horror about a haunted lakeside property and twisted family secrets. When Samantha Payne's grandfather dies, she figures she won't even get a mention in the will. After all, she hasn't seen him in 14 years, not since her father took his own life after being accused of murdering a child at their lakefront cottage. Her grandfather always insisted her father was innocent, despite Sam having caught him burying the child's body, his clothing streaked with blood. But when she attends the reading of the will at the behest of her aunt, she discovers that her grandfather left her the very valuable lakefront property where the family cottage sits. So, you can imagine. It's like your mind goes like to all kinds of places when something like that happens, right? Yeah. Sounds perfect. Okay, so now we're on to Aardvark. And first one is the Aardvark short story collection. Now, this is an original Aardvark, and it was, they offered it a couple months ago, and I think I just picked it up in the last one because my cart previously was full. But I really wanted this because there are 8 authors that are horror thriller authors that they have offered in the past, and they all have written short stories for this book. And out of this, I've read from 4 of the authors, and then 4 of them I have not read anything from. So that was why I thought, well, it would be a lot of fun. And the 4 that I have read from were Rachel Harrison, S.A. Barnes, C.J. Leeds, and Stephen Graham Jones. Those are the 4 I read from. The others, which are Kay Chronister, Del Sandine, Kylie Baker, and Jennifer Thorne. I have not read from them. So I thought, well, it would be the perfect opportunity to get to know them as writers in short stories. And of course, my favorite is Stephen Graham Jones because I just read Buffalo Hunter and I freaking love that book. So can't wait to read that one. I mean, you know, I'm not a short story person, but it's only 8 short stories in it. And the fact that it is authors, some of them I've read and some of them I haven't, I think it's kind of a nice collection. Really looking forward to that. The next is the Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi, again from Aardvark. And I just loved the sound of this one. And it says, brimming with dark humor, violence, and mystery, the Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre is a blood-soaked slasher that will keep readers guessing until the very last page. And so we're talking about, obviously, people in a retirement home. So there are people that are even older than me because, you know, I'm not young. Okay. And I just love the whole idea that it's a slasher, you know, like they got the knife on the cover, everything like, yeah. Just loved the sound of it. Fantastic. And then the other one I picked up, which was also a brand new one, Offered the Place Where They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry. This was a cover buy. Okay. Like this was what attracted me to it right from the get-go. It's like, this looks like a creepy house on Halloween. Kind of. Yeah. Okay. It was only a dare. On an otherwise ordinary street in Chicago, there is a house, an abandoned house where, once upon a time, terrible things happened. The children who live on this block are told by their parents to stay away from that house. But of course, children don't listen. Children think it's fun to be scared, to dare each other to go inside. Creepy. Creepy, creepy. Yeah. Perfect. I know, yeah, I'm a little weird, but I love those kinds of stories. Okay, and the last one is Haven't Killed in Years by Amy K. Green. And this was one that actually came up in the releases that I did. So this is a new release, and it says a small brown box awaited me on the landing outside my apartment. I slid my key into the lock, swung the door open before picking it up. There was no label. It wasn't even properly sealed. The flaps were folded into each other without adhesive. Through the cracks, I could make out one of those Trader Joe's newspapers. I undid a flap, and the rest fell open. I lifted the newspaper and revealed my gift, a man's left arm, hairy, colorless, severed right below the elbow. Wedged between the thumbs and forefingers of his stiff hand was a tiny note card, the kind that comes with a bouquet of flowers, which simply read, Hi, Marin. I think that's an excerpt from the book. So I like it, like super, super, super creepy. I think her father was a serial killer, and when he was convicted, she was put into witness protection, or they gave her a new identity, something like that. And so she's been hiding all this time. Not anymore. And that's it. So I don't know how many is that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 books in total. That is just thrillers, mysteries, cozy mysteries, horror. Yeah, a little bit of the good stuff, right? So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found something in there that you think you might enjoy. And if you've bought any of these books, or if you've read any of them, I'd love to know what you think of them. And yeah, that's it for me for now. And I will see you in the next video, which will be book haul number 3, Romance.